here at the Wildlife Science Center, Howl, Ween. Can you explain some of the fun activities we are doing here today?
Yes, today we have members of our staff at all the stations with candy for the kids, so they get to come by and learn about the animals that live here and the things that we do, and get to trick or treat for candy. We also have several presentations going on today on bats and snakes and wolves, to teach kids more about the animals that kind of get represented at Halloween and not always in a positive light.
Okay, that's very cool. And we are out here in the Carlos Avery Wildlife area. Can you talk a little bit about what the Wildlife Science Center is out here and some of the other activities you guys do throughout the year?
Sure. The Wildlife Science Center is a private nonprofit, and we lease land from Carlos Avery and the DNR. And the things that we do here, the four primary parts of our mission are education. So we teach people about the animals that we have here, which are primarily North American predators. And so education is the most public face that we have. But we also do research, things like non-lethal predator control, reproductive research on wolves, which is really important to support the survival of the Mexican gray wolf. We also house Mexican gray wolves and red wolves as part of our conservation efforts with a partnership with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, as well as train wildlife biologists and other professionals in how to handle animals, which is really fun work as well.
Well, there's a whole lot of body posturing that goes on when you're a wolf. It's a socially dynamic situation. If you're the alpha, you can kind of tell from a distance just by the way that you walk around. Your tail is up, your ears are up, you stand taller. There was a noise just a little bit ago, sort of an odd noise that they hadn't heard before. All three of them came over to George to sort of check it out, see how he was feeling about it. And George was being calm about it, so they became calm. But they do come together and sort of, feed off of that energy. If there was food in here, there might be some posturing you'd see. George would be able to eat first. It's really a good thing to be alpha because you get to eat first, you get to have babies, you get to sort of, call the shots. So it's good to be alpha, but so much of it is nonverbal. It's all body language. George and his brother were born here, I believe. I'm not exactly sure, but I believe they're around 7 years old. I'm not positive on that. And so both litters were about the same time. This is a subspecies of the gray wolf. There's three. Science, instead of just saying a big, middle, and small gray wolf, and they don't call them tundra wolves anymore, they've given them different names. So the western gray wolf, that's now called the tundra wolf. And the middle range in the U.S., Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, southern Ontario, our wolves are called the Great Plains wolves. And then the little guys down in southwest, the little Mexican grays. So these are the Great Plains wolves, about 80 to 100 pounds, a little bit smaller than the western wolves, about twice the size of the Mexican grays.
This is a bull snake. Bull snakes are one of the species that you find here in Minnesota. And it is the longest snake species we have in Minnesota. These guys can get up well over 6 feet. The record in the wild here in Minnesota is somewhere up over 7, but there are places where they've gotten 8 feet or even a little bit longer. If you were out here and you guys saw the white fox out here, that's a color morph. Typically our red foxes are red, like the one back by the bears. That's a color morph. So you can get into some very interesting albinisms, like absence of like yellows or reds, or melanistic, which tend to be darker. So that is very possible that that's what you saw. And that would make sense in this area, that it could be a very large, sort of dark-colored bull snake. These guys tend to like open areas. So think about oak savanna and prairie and farmland. They're not a forest species. You're not going to find these guys hanging out in the woods. And they get called gopher snake, or bull snake, some people call them. Because, gopher snake, you think about it, they like living in gopher holes. And they eat gophers as part of their diet, and mice and other rodents. And what they will do is, because if you think about it, when you're down in a gopher tunnel and it's like really constricted, if they find a gopher they want to eat, it's very hard to coil. They're a constrictor. So a constrictor will grab their food by the mouth, usually is where they try to grab, and then they coil it and they squeeze it until it stops breathing. But in this case, you can't really coil in a gopher hole or in a gopher tunnel, right? So what they'll do is they'll actually take and they'll just pin it up against the wall and they'll strangle it that way. They have very, very strong tummy muscles that help them to do that.